Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So today we're going to do the two suratain which you find in Muhammad Square. We're going to do Muzzammil and Muddathir. They're in Nida Street, if you look at that. And Nida literally means when you call out to someone. And all these 5 surahs that you've got here, Ahzab, Talaq, Taharim, Muddathir and Muzzammil, or Muzzammil and Muddathir, are calling out to the Prophet. It's a direct address to the Prophet. The others may say Ya Ayyuhan Nabi, but here we have Ya Ayyuhal Muzzammil and Ya Ayyuhal Muddathir. So we're going to start with Muzzammil and take it from there. So the first thing you've got to see, as you know, is surah number 73. It's got 20 ayat. It's a Makki, it's a very, very early Makki surah, and that's important for us to keep that in mind, because when we come to some parts of the surah, you've got to keep in mind that possibly there were only 2 or 3 surahs that have been revealed before this, if that. Okay, so it's Muzzammil. When we talk about Muzzammil, and the translation is the wrapped one, as you can see on the building here, Zammiluni means to wrap someone in a hug, in a blanket, but with love, with it's more relaxed, it's more comfort. When I talk to children, I say it's like when you sit watching the TV and you want this blanket, not because you're cold or anxious or scared or anything, but it's just comfort. It's literally a relaxing thing. So the moment you think Muzzammil, think of snug as a bug in a rug, or snug as a bug in a rug is basically what you're going to think of. The surah focuses on the importance of being able to strengthen oneself by talking to divinity at night to be able to fulfill daytime responsibilities. And although this talks to the Prophet, it's also talking to you and me. Often daytime work is pretty tough. And to be able to counteract that, to counteract what somebody said, to counteract everything, it's the nighttime conversing with divinity that brings strength. And we'll see how that works through with the Prophet as well. Here it says, you've got Muzzammil is one of the 7 names by which the Prophet is addressed in the Quran. You all know Ahmed and Muhammad, and we did Taha and Yasin. And then obviously the other one is Muddathir, and then we've got Abdullah. Here, Salatul Layl is made wajib for the Prophet before even the 5 daily prayers are established. And then we find how for the companions of the Prophet it was made voluntary. That's for all of us. These are the benefits of recitation. There's a protection from insanity, purity of heart, forgiveness, fulfillment of hajat, and preventing to be enslaved by other people. So we've got 3 sections in Surah Al Muzzammil. And the first section that we're going to look at is how this gives strength, conversing with divinity. And basically it's talking about Salatul Layl and reciting the Quran with tartil. Section 2 is a warning to those who reject guidance. And section 3 then, it's just one ayah, ayah 20. It's a long ayah, it's a very unique ayah. And it gives us literally 5 orders to follow. Really amazing. So we're going to start off with section 1. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ya Ayyuhal Muzzammil. Such a beautiful word. Muzzammil. You know what? You could start using these words in your vocabulary. You said to somebody, Zammiluni. So wrap me in a blanket. Wrap me in your arms. It's comforting. Okay. So Ya Ayyuhal Muzzammil. Oh, you who are so comfortable and so relaxed, so wrapped up. Qum. Get up. Rise. Qumil layla illa kalila. Stand up for most of the night. Stand up for a large part of the night. Now here Allah is giving him quite a few options. Okay, there's a choice. He tells him nisfahu, maybe half of the night. Aw inqus minhu kalila, or even a third of the night, little less than half. Now we'll see how that the companions tried to follow this but found it very, very hard. So the first thing he's told is Salatul Layl. Talk to your Rabb. Then he's told, Awzid alayhi, after a half, the option was less than a half, or maybe increase it a little bit. But then in the night, warattilil Qur'an tartila. So recite the Quran in slow, rhythmic, calm down tones. And here he's told, recite this because you've got extra time. So recite it being how shall I put it? Being in awe, recite it, being mindful of every single word of how you're reciting it, because you haven't got anything to hurry about. You've got the whole night. So awzid alayhi wa rattilil Qur'ana tartila. Now this is where I think, just for a minute, think this is Sura Al Muzzammil, possibly the second, third, maybe Muddathir before that, the 5 ayat of Surah Al-Alaq, Surah Al-Fatiha, maybe Surah Al-Ikhlas, but what else? That was all there was there. It wasn't the whole 114 surah that we have. And yet he's told, remember Allah in this night, half of the night. You can't pray Salatul Layl the whole night, reciting the Quran. So it's telling you and me, doesn't matter, repeat it again and again and again. It has an effect on you. So awzid alayhi wa rattilil Qur'ana tartila. And when you have time, you don't have to recite it fast. Calm down, slowly. Why? Why would you need to do all this? Because he says, Inna sanulki alayka. We will put on you. We will, we will throw upon you. Alayka. Qawlan thaqila. A heavy word. That is the responsibility of the divine message. That will be put upon you. And for the strength you will need to be able to transmit this, you will need to converse with divinity, Salatul Layl, and you will need to read the Quran. Inna nashiyat al-layl. Indeed, the waking up at night, ya ashaddu, it is strong. Wat'an. If I can put wat'an, is it leaves an imprint. It will hold on to your heart. This talking to divinity will imprint on your heart. It's a firm standing. Wa aqwa muqila. And it will plant your feet firmly. It's like when we do the dua, wa thabbit aqdamana. It's the same thing. So he's saying that if you want to be able to do this work during the day, the best way to do it is to be able to keep awake at night, speak to divinity, recite the Quran, talking to me and you as well. Why? Inna laka fin nahar. Because for you in the morning, sabhan tawila, there is relentless activity. You have to go on and on and on. Sabhan comes from sabaha, to swim. If you want to swim, you've got to move. You've got to paddle. It doesn't work otherwise. You can't move. You can't just stay in one place. That's just floating for a little while. So he says, in the daytime, you have relentless activity. It's a continuous thing that you're going to have. And for that, you will need strength. So I'll go back again. The first 7 ayah telling me to be able to have the strength, to be able to talk to people. Remember, when you and I go to a lecture, or even when we're listening to this class, I don't know much anyway, but whatever we're doing, we want to come. These people didn't want to listen to the Prophet. They abused him, they insulted him, he talked to them. It was tough going. So for that tough going of passing on the message, you will need strength, and the strength will come by talking to him at night. Now we look at ayah 8. وَاذْكُرِ اسْمَ رَبِّكَ وَتَبَتَّلْ إِلَيْهِ تَبْتِيلًا. Remember the name of your Rabb. وَتَبَتَّلْ إِلَيْهِ تَبْتِيلًا. That's quite a difficult word. Battala is to cut someone off. Battala means to withdraw. But the very fact that it says وَتَبَتَّلْ إِلَيْهِ تَبْتِيلًا, it says, remember the name of your Rabb. And when you leave them, when you cut yourself, going away from them, leave them with a good feeling. Doesn't matter what they do to you. You leave with a smile. They can be awful to you, but you leave them with a leaving that they will not feel bad about, because you will set an example for them. And who is this coming from? Who are you? Who's telling you all this? Rabbul Mashriqi wal Maghribi. The Rabb who owns the East and the West. The owner, basically. Rabb, the master of the East and the West. La ilaha illahu. There is no God but He. Fattakhidhu wakila. Take Him to be your wakil, your lawyer. He will protect you. So Allah is telling him it's going to be a tough going. But you know what? It's me. I'm telling you. I'm there for you. It's a phenomenal bit, phenomenal statement, this one. Rabbul Mashriqi wal Maghribi la ilaha illahu fattakith wakila. So the confidence given to the Prophet is just something else. He's told he is the protector. He's the one who's telling you all this. So that's section 1 to 9. Now we look at the second section. And the second section now talks about those that he was talking towards. So Allah is saying, wasbir, do sabr. You will need a lot of sabr here. Wasbir. Ala ma yakulun. And to what they say. Now again here we have the same thing. Wahjurhum hajran jamila. When you part from them in a beautiful parting. Part from them in a lovely way, in a good way. Jamil is beautiful. So it's actually echoing what was said before, but here it is now, if I can say, accentuating that, saying it a little bit more. Wahajurhum hajran jamila. Leave them with a beautiful leaving. And then quite strong. Wadarni. Wadarni is leave me and them, wal mukadhibin, and those who lie. Those who lie about what you're saying, leave me and them alone. I will deal with them. Don't worry about them. Now Allah describes who they are. He says, ulin na'ama. It's not ni'ama. Ni'ama is a blessing. Na'ama is a luxury. That's excessiveness. Leave me and those who have excessive luxury. وَمَحِلْهُمْ قَلِيلًا. And give them respite. Give them a little bit of time. That's okay. Give them time. Don't worry about them. Inna ladayna. With us, we have ankal. Ankal is some chains that are heavy, that bind you. These are chains of their own making, that they've chained themselves with to the world and not thought about anything further. Wajahima, and a flaming fire. Basically it's saying it's the fire they've created themselves with their injustice. Wata'aman, and food, za ghussatin, that doesn't go down. Wa'adhaban alima, and painful punishment. It's in response to the food that they didn't give and the hurt they caused others. And Allah is saying now about the Day of Judgment. Yawma tarjuful arth, on the day when the earth will shake, wal jibal, and the mountains, wa kanatil jibalu, and the mountains will be kathiban mahila, like sand dunes. They will just crumble and they will just be like sand dunes. So literally piles of sand. Mountains represent those you lean on, those whom you take as your go-to people, person whom you can trust, whom you can rely on. He says they're not going to be anything. The wealth that you relied on, the luxuries you relied on, the injustice that you caused by bullying others, nothing's going to work. Inna arsalna ilaykum rasulan. Now he's talking to them directly. We sent you a messenger. Shahidan alaykum. He's a witness against you. Kama arsalna ila fir'auna rasula. Now they knew about Egypt. They knew about Fir'aun. So they're sent, just like Musa was sent to Fir'aun. Fa'asa fir'aunu rasul. But Fir'aun disobeyed the messenger. فَأَخَذْنَاهُ. So we took hold of him. أَخْذًا وَبِيلًا. With a very firm hold, a very strong hold. So now they're told, even Fir'aun, whom you read about, whom you know about, whom you've heard about, who was so strong in the land, we held him with a really strong hold. فَكَيْفَ تَتَّقُونَ. How will you be God conscious in kafartum if you cover up the truth? How will you be God conscious if you cover up the truth? Yawman, about accountability. Yaj'alul wildana shiba. On the day even children will become grey-haired. So wildana shiba refers to either the day of accounting will be long or it will be extremely fearful. Some of us say because of the length of the day, some say because of the fear of the day, that children will become grey-haired. As-sama'u munfatiran bih. On that day, the skies, infitar, is to be torn, to ripped apart. On that day, the skies will be ripped apart. Kana wa'duhu maf'ula. And his promise will always be there. I mean, his promise will always be fulfilled. Sky means that which I thought was my covering, that which I thought protected me, all that will be torn away and I'll be laid open as I am. In هذه تذكرة. This is a really awesome, powerful reminder. فَمَنْ شَاءَ اتَّخَذَ. Whoever takes it, إِلَى رَبِّهِ سَبِيلًا, they will find a way to their Rabb. So, if I conversed with divinity, if I read the Quran, when I read the Quran, I took something out of it. If I had sabr, even those who insulted me, if I leave them in a beautiful way, and if I'm mindful of accountability, then I will find my full potential. And then we come to the last ayah, which is ayah 20. And this literally is one ayah. It's a long ayah, and then I'll summarize stuff. He says, Inna rabbaka, indeed your Rabb, ya'lamu, he knows. أنك تقوم أدنى من ثلث الليل, that you stand a third of the night, or nisfa, or half the night, وثلثه, وطائفة من الذين معك, and a group of people with you. They do this as well. والله يقدر الليل والنهار, and Allah knows the length of the night and the day. علم أن لن تحصوه, and he knows you're finding it difficult. Now he's talking to the companions of the Prophet. It's not easy if every night you were to keep awake like that. فَتَابَ عَلَيْكُمْ, so he's turned to you mercifully. He's accepted your tawbah. He knows you can't do it. You're trying to follow the Prophet because that's what you've been told. But he says it's okay. You know what you should do? So that's number one now. He said, فَقْرَؤُوا مَا تَيَسَّرَ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ. Read what is easy for you of the Quran. Everybody's easy is different. Everybody's comfortable is different. He's talking about comfort. Read what is comfortable for you. For some it might be one ayah. For some it might be two. For some it might be a page. But he's saying read what is comfortable for you from the Quran. That's number one. Alima an sayakunu minkum marda. He knows that amongst you there might be somebody who's ill. وآخرون يضربون في الأرض يبتغون من فضل الله. There will be those who will be traveling in the earth seeking their livelihood. So you might be working, you've got work to do. وآخرون يقاتلون في سبيل الله, and there will be others who will be fighting in the way of Allah. So he says he knows all this. فَقْرَؤُوا مَا تَيَسَّرَ مِنْهُ, but you should read what is easy for you, what is comfortable for you. So that's still number one, order number one. Order number two, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةِ, establish salah. Order number three, وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةِ, give zakah. وَأَقْرِضُوا اللَّهَ قَرْضًا حَسَنًا. Now the fourth one. Give Allah, give me 1 minute. Can you just leave it there? Okay. وَأَقْرِضُوا اللَّهَ قَرْضًا حَسَنًا. Give Allah a good loan. In other words, give, and this is really something that we need to think about, an open-ended loan. Give it to Allah. How do you give Allah an open-ended loan? It's His money. So he's saying, أَقْرِضُوا اللَّهَ قَرْضًا حَسَنًا. Give Allah an open-ended loan. I'm going to go back to it. All right. Let me give an example. Say your mom came to you and said, please may I borrow £1? I promise I'll pay back to you whenever I can. And she knows that you have alhamdulillah, you're comfortable. But she comes to you and she says, can I borrow £1 from you, and I promise you I'll pay it back when I can. You will feel so bad. You will think, you mean Mom thinks I'm that stingy? Mom thinks I'm that selfish? Mom thinks what does she think I am? That she has to ask me for £1, which I don't even blink about. It floats around my house. I don't even blink. But she had to ask me, and she says, it's telling me how selfish and how she must view me to be. How stingy, selfish, self-centered. How did she think of me? And here Allah is saying, وَأَقْرِضُوا اللَّهَ, give Allah a loan, an open-ended loan. So he's reminding me of my greed. And he says, وَمَا تُقَدِّمُ, by the way, and he's saying, go out in the world and look at those who need it. And an open-ended loan is literally sadaqah. Basically, you don't know when you're going to get it back. Don't even think about it. وَمَا تُقَدِّمُوا لِأَنفُسِكُم مِّن خَيْرٍ تَجِدُوهُ عِندَ اللَّهِ. Whatever good you do, you will find it with Allah. Not only will you find it with Allah, هُوَ خَيْرًا, you will find better with Allah, وَأَعْظَمَ أَجْرًا, and you will find it in a compensation that you may not even thought about. وَاسْتَغْفِرُ اللَّهِ, and ask forgiveness of Allah. Inna Allah ghafurur rahim. Allah is Ghafoor and Allah is Rahim. He ends with forgiveness. And it's quite ironical because, well, not ironical, that's the beauty of the Quran, that it started off with Salatul Layl, and Salatul Layl is all about istighfar. And it ends with telling me to read the Quran, to establish Salah, to give Zakah, and then وَأَقْرِضُ اللَّهَ قَرْضًا حَسَنًا. Forgive. When you give, don't even think about it. Forgive it completely. And then it said, wastaghfirullah. So there's those 5 things in that. But it's a phenomenal surah. If you recited it, and asked for your hajat straight after it, it says they are fulfilled. Sura Al Muzzammil, which is its sister surah, which we're going to do in a minute, has a greater ta'thir of asking for hajat. You're told if you read that surah and you ask for hajat, then it is fulfilled. So you've got to think about what you asked for. So maybe reciting both together and then asking for hajat would be good. I'm going to end this, and